Hey everyone, it's David here. So I want to talk to you today about finding people and telling them that they have unclaimed funds. Do you have a hard time convincing someone that they have money and that you're not some scam artist calling them asking them for money? Do you have a hard time doing this? Well, I'm going to give you 2 tips in this video. Stay till the end. So on Tuesday of this week, I'm making my daily phone calls and I come across a corporation on the state funds that was back in 1989. I go to my corporation finder, I try to locate this corporation and it's gone extinct. It's gone, it's no longer a corporation. So I did a number of ways to find this corporation. I went into the California Secretary of State, I went into corporations, and I tried the name a few different ways and I was able to come up with the name of the corporation. The way it was listed on the state, it was just a space, and sometimes you have to just spend a couple seconds and put a space between something, take off the ink at the end, and it'll come up. So it came up, and again, I noticed that the corporation dissolved back in the late 80s, early 90s. So I go ahead and I find the president of the corporation, the former owner, and I pull up his contact information. The guy's deceased. He would have been 71 years old. He has no listed relatives except for one son. So I called his son and I just said, hey, did you know that your dad had $20,000 in this corporation? Son said, really? Let's get under contract. And boom, we get under contract. Well, it wasn't really that easy. What I ended up doing was I called the son and I told him, I gave him the name of the corporation and where the address was. He said, yeah, I'm very familiar with it. It was my dad's. I said, did you know that there was $20,000 from a Bank of America account? It was $20,000 even. And the son said, okay, this sounds too good to be true. So I said, well, let me tell you what I have. And I did what I always tell you all to do. I stuck with data. I said, he had a corporation on this street. He said, well, yeah, that's a town that my dad lived in. I said, here was the address. Here was the bank. It was Bank of America, and it was an account where he did not ever close out, and that account went dormant, and it got relinquished to the state. So he kept on asking me, data, well, how'd you get my information? And I just said, great question. I want to just remind you that I'm licensed by the state. I work alongside of the state, and I have a database that pulls up. So I first of all looked up the corporation, and I saw that it belonged to your dad. I saw that your dad's deceased. I then went through my standard questions. Was he married? And the son said no. I said, is there any other children? And he said, no, I'm the only kid. He goes, I had full power of attorney and I'm trustee. I said, okay, great. So I went ahead and I walked him through the process. I said, you can check out my references on my website. And I know that a lot of people don't have a website. And I would just say, before that, I would say I'm a third party and I just work alongside of the state and I help people get paid. But in this case, I've built up enough where I can hide behind my website, hide behind my testimonials, and they speak for themselves. So the son went ahead and he took my website information. He was still reluctant. So I asked him, I said, okay, can I show you the agreements? And after I show you the agreements, can I follow back up with you? And he said, yeah, that'll be fine. So again, I have a $20,000 deal. It's a $2,000 payout. I spend no more than 5 minutes locating this guy after I see the data. It'll take me somewhere between 5 to 10 minutes to put these agreements together. I'll have them put together and I'll email them to the son. Then I asked the next most important question and I just said, when would be the best time for me to follow up with you? And he's still a little hesitant. He said, I'd really prefer you to follow up with me on email. That I absolutely hate, but I'm playing basketball and I'm playing on his court. And because I'm playing on his court, I'm going to respect the fact that he's asking for that. So today, the son will receive the contracts, and I called them agreements. I said, I'll send you the agreements. And I explained, I said, there's going to be a claim for abandoned property. There's going to be an investigator agreement. I went over what I would get paid in that. He was fine with that. I then, as we were talking, I then pulled up his dad's name, and his dad has 5 other accounts at the state, and the highest is $200 and the lowest is $10. They equal about $1,000 when you calculate, just under that, when you calculate all the other accounts he has. And the son said, well, that isn't that much money. And I said, well, it's not, but it's basically an extra $900 for you. I said, if you want, I can get you paid on these. I'll go ahead and put these in the claim for abandoned property. So I explained what the 2 agreements were. Then I went over a little bit on the probate process, what else would be required. Then I have to follow up with this corporation. I have never dealt with a corporation where it's totally out of business on a state unclaimed fund. I have on a bankruptcy case before, but I haven't on a state unclaimed fund. So I'm double checking everything with the state, but what I have to do is be able to show that the corporation belonged to this kid's father. Then at that point, I'm gonna have to show all the data that he closed it, everything with it, and that proof of this. I'm then gonna have to take that and I'm gonna have to show that the son is the heir and get him paid. This will probably take somewhere, when all is said and done, probably about 30 to minutes, let's say an hour. So how many of you have had a job where you make $2,000 an hour? I never have. I was a public high school teacher. I taught high school math for 18 years. And if anything, I would show up before school for these late starts or these meetings. I had IEPs, I had after school meetings, department meetings, district meetings, parent meetings, student meetings. I mean, you go crazy. As a teacher, your job's never ending. And actually, sometimes you think you'd make more than McDonald's. I mean, you have a little bit more of a stable pay as teacher. Don't get me wrong, it's not all bad, but the hours were countless. And no job pays $2,000 an hour. This will be $2,000. Once all gets in and done, I still have to get him to sign the contracts. I still have to get them back, but it will be $2,000. So my first tip to you that I talked about in the beginning of the video is to go ahead and make sure that you're following through. And what do I mean by that? Well, I pull this corporation up and it's expired. It doesn't show up on my search engine that I'm using on my reverse search directory. I then go to the Secretary of State. I then play around with the wording a little bit. Boom, it comes right up. 3 or 4 minutes. Then I get in the process of locating the family, and I second or third phone call, the son answers. I mean, it was relatively simple to do. Okay, so we're in less than 5 minutes. Now the phone conversation with him was probably, and I didn't calculate that into the time, but it was probably a good 15, 20 minutes. And as he drilled me, I went back to data every single time. Just, he lived in Sacramento. Here was the address. Here was the bank. It was with this corporation. It never got claimed. It's gone dormant. It's been released to the state. I would love it if you worked with me. Again, my script. You should know your script like the back of your hand. It should be, and I've been talking a lot about habit forming. It should be habit, and it should be in your habit, totally habit forming. So if you watched a few videos that I've been doing, I've been talking a lot about habits and building habits. If you have not made this business into a habit, it's like you're playing basketball. And if you go up to the free throw line and you take a shot, will you make it? Well, you might or you might not. Okay, you don't know. You just go up, you take a blind shot. If you haven't played basketball in a long time, you probably won't make it. If you go up and you shoot 100 free throws a day, you're probably going to make it if you know and you understand the shot, with knowing that you might miss it. This business is the same. If you're not doing this business and then one day you do what you call motivation and you wake up, you say, okay, I'm going to make 3 calls a day. And it's great because I talk about that a lot. I talk about placing those first few phone calls, and you get a deal like this in the works. You're not going to know what to do with it because you don't have it in your habits to be able to work this business. And you have to make this obvious. So what's obvious? So if you're trying to work this business and you're trying to make it into a habit, it's like if you have an office in your house and all you do is play video games and social media in this office, when you go to work the business, you're going to be distracted by social media and video games because your brain is wired to do that. If you are in the living room and all you do is watch TV, you're going to be tempted to have the TV on as you work your business, and you're going to fall into that habit. If you could change your environment, you're probably going to get into a habit that's brand new, that's going to work for you. For me, with having 2 kids at home, having the door constantly open, before I got an office, I would go down to Coffee Bean and I would put on my headphones in my computer and make phone calls and work right from Coffee Bean. And I did that several days a week, and I worked it out where sometimes after school I'd be in my classroom or I'd be in various different places where I had a new environment where I could change and make this into a habit. And that's how you form this business, is you make it into a habit. And put some papers. Maybe you've pulled leads that you have to call. You put them right on your keyboard of your computer. You put them right inside your laptop. You put them somewhere where you're going to see them. I mean, it's been a proven fact on habit forming habits. And I've been saying this for a while. People who want to eat healthier and eat junk food, they truly want to eat healthier. Study after study shows that. But when you walk in your kitchen and you have a bowl of apples hidden in the corner and you have cookies on the countertop, what are you going to gravitate toward? It's going to be the cookies. This has been study after study, and I don't have time to go into all this, but if you actually take the apples and you put them in front of the cookies, you're going to be inclined to start changing your habits. You've got to stop poking at this and making calls once or twice. Yeah, start off, make 1 call, then make 2 calls, then make 3 or 4 calls, and keep on building up and make this into a habit. It takes time to transition, but I talk about improving 1% better each and every single day. I talk about so many. Take this business, make it into a habit. Then when you get a guy like this who has a deceased father and you're going over this script, you know it like the back of your hand. You're able to talk to him. You're able to explain to him what you do. And the guy was ready to hang up. And I'm just like, hey, before you hang up, I just want to let you know that your dad had this business at this address with this account. I can show you my business license with the state. I work alongside of the state. I help people get paid in situations like yours. I would love to work with you. I get 10%, you would get the other 90%. I will be paid directly. And then the son asked, what if I don't get paid? What if it doesn't go through? Then how much do I have to pay you? And I said, absolutely nothing. He goes, I don't believe that. I said, sir, I will show you in every single contract. You could look at my testimonies. I guarantee you, if you don't make money, I don't make money. With that being said, I'm going to do everything in my power to get you paid because I'll get paid. And that's a good line to have because really, I'm taking on the burden upon myself, work with me, and I'm taking everything on myself. Hey, I really appreciate you watching till the end of this video. If you like this, and I'm going to be doing a lot more videos on contracts, on investigator agreements, on how to get contracts on script. If you like this, please subscribe below, and you'll see my next video. And thank you for listening.